Hi folks, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates, and tonight you just got me. My lovely wife has her daughter in town, and they are going out to dinner and maybe to a movie. Let me turn this down here. Maybe to a movie. Oh, I'm talking over myself. So I'm going to try to do this by myself here. Let me find the live chat. Okay. Make it bigger. How do you make it bigger? Hi, Soren. Soren, you're on deck. I've got, hey, Andy. I've got a question from Soren. How am I? I'm well rested. I didn't have any clients this afternoon, and I took a really long, lovely nap. So I'm fresh as a daisy. There's Sarah. Hey. So I have Eileen and the fellow thrivers. I have 4 questions, which is more sideways. I have a question to answer of yours as well, my friend. Markimus. Hey, I like that, Robert. Markimus. Markimus Maximus. Nadia. Hey, Marilyn. All kinds of folks in the house. I'm going to turn this a little bit so I can see the live stream. Oh, that's sweet. Nice. Kate Nadine. Yeah. So Robert says he was digging the poetry, the geese calling out for that place. And he saw the fog and he heard the call. So that's good poetry. Let me turn this light down here. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with a question from, I think her name's Lisette. Regina, hello. She says, thank you so much. Any kind of feedback and everything helps. And she asks, how do you feel about psychiatric help and medication to help cope with the aftermaths of a relationship? Hi, Susie from Phoenix. PTSD, acute anxiety, and OCD is what I got after this relationship. I don't know where to turn for help that isn't waiting months for a consultation. I don't think that we have enough support for people who are stuck in these cycles. Smooth and Chunky, I got a question for you. Hi, Lucia. Living in a large city with very little narcissistic survival resources is making the anxiety worse. Thank you. I'll check out your book. I want to close the chapter on this nightmare, and feel happy again. And I hope your book leads the way. So let me answer this question. How do I feel about psychiatric help and medication? I'm all for it. By the way, I'm going to answer 4 questions, and your therapist and some other person, hi Annie, who does YouTube videos, they might answer it differently. These aren't black and white questions. These are a little bit gray. Let me turn the fan down here. These are a little bit gray, so I'll just tell you what I think, and don't just know that it's not the be all end all truth. It's just what I'm seeing and what I'm. But after you've been shattered, hell yeah, get some medicine. I first experienced a form of shattering in 2007, There's a question by Kate Nadine. I'll answer that in a second. And I've been on an antidepressant ever since then. That's 10 years. And I'm not planning on coming off of it anytime real soon, because if it ain't broken, why try to fix it? I'm telling you, it's working for me, and that's what those medications do. They're there to help you to function. So I would feel good about taking the medication. Lisette, I know you're in a city without a lot of support, but the internet is just chock filled with support. So, hi Vanessa. So it's a big wide world, and the World Wide Web is here with help and blessing and support and a village to raise the people. But yeah, get on some medication and don't feel bad about it at all, because when you go through this, it's very physiological. Now, don't just take medicine. Also find a therapist. Also do meditation. Also exercise. Also eat right. Do all the good, healthy stuff. But yeah, I don't have a problem with medication for somebody who's been through hell and back and lit on fire. Don't have a problem with it. Okay, so where's that question? Kate Nadine, do you believe that developmental trauma disorder will ever be a diagnosis in the DSM? You know, Kate Nadine, I'm not a big expert on how things get introduced. There's Michelle Judd from Australia. How things get into the DSM-3. I know that the people in Boston who treat PTSD, who are some of the leaders in this field of not so much narcissistic abuse, but treating trauma, are doing everything they can to get it recognized. But what typically happens is you have PTSD and you go in and then they hit you with, oh, you're bipolar. No, I'm not bipolar. I have PTSD, or you're borderline. That's what they do. There's a lot of bad therapists giving bad diagnoses that are just incorrect. Andy, I have a question. How would you deal with a narcissistic alcoholic father who won't accept that he has a drinking problem? I'd probably, Andy, it says second to that, he maintains that he was a great father and won't speak to my sister, who wants to tell him how bad abusive he was. He doesn't want to hear it. She wants to write him a letter. You know, whenever we have a strong need, whether it is to be heard or be validated, then we sort of lose power. So I would just distance myself from this kind of a father and let your silence and your back communicate to him, and not try to get blood out of a turnip, but more distance yourself and just, the quote that I always give, I love to give, is truly powerful people, they don't go around explaining their need for respect. They just don't engage with people who do not give it to them. So this man is not capable of giving respect, so I just wouldn't interact with him. Fernanda, not sure you're getting my questions. Fernanda, I may not be, because I don't know what your questions are. My bad. Fernanda. Email them in on the live stream here. What to think about a guy who seems emotionally flat, non-reacting, for example, when you tell them your parent just died? Well, That's a red flag, because that's a real lack of empathy. So either he is autistic or has Asperger's or he's narcissistic. None of those are good. My God. You tell them a parent just died and they don't react. That's scary. Okay, moving on. I got a question from Smooth and Chunky. And I think I'd like to change my name to Smooth and Chunky. So you guys just refer to me as that, because it's such a cool name. Fernanda says he offers support, but you can see he's emotionally flat. Yeah, it's like empathy. You got to be able to feel to give empathy. You can't just think about something, you have to feel. Smooth and Chunky, thanks for the Tuesday night meetings. I find attending helpful. I hope you get to this question. I understand if you cannot. We're getting to it. Some background first. I'm no contact with a narcissistic father for 3 years now. My sister received an email from my aunt, my narcissistic father's only sibling. She is asking to speak to me in the email and says it's not about him. Should I contact her, or should she be written off as, where is lovely Renda? I'm squirreling. She's out with her daughter. Her daughter is in town just for one night, and they're out on the town having dinner, maybe going to a movie. So, yeah, I haven't chased her around the house yet, or she hasn't gotten tired of me yet. She loves me. I love her. Should I contact this codependent aunt, or should she be written off in the no contact collateral damage clause, so to speak? I will add that she is a poster child for enablers. She is married to a narcissistic monster. She sips the Kool-Aid and wouldn't know unconditional love if it gave her a lap dance. Oh, my wife is your counselor. Hey, that's pretty cool. Hey, Tawana. She's advocated for my narcissistic father in the past. Her reason for contacting me is to help her 40-year-old son get a job. So, Sumit, hey, what's up? All is well. So, Smooth and Chunky, I wouldn't have any qualms about reading an email from your aunt. She has no power over you. You're big and strong and powerful, and she can't hypnotize you with any kind of indirect narcissistic magic. If you can, without being codependent, offer some kind of help for her 40-year-old son getting a job, then offer it if you wish. If it feels yucky or creepy, then ignore it or say no. But reading an email from a codependent isn't gonna hurt you. Oh, she wants a call. Oh, well, if you don't want a call, don't take the call and just limit it to email. There's Margriet Elizabeth from the Netherlands. What's up? So, Tetrahydron 9 had to call the police on my narcissist. The narcissist calls me non-stop. I'm assuming to drop charges, but he physically hurt me badly. Should I ignore all communication until court? Absolutely ignore that guy. He's dangerous, and when you talk with him, there's Lizard. When you talk with people like that, you just it's not safe. You're in a legal battle with this man, and your lawyer wouldn't want you talking with this person either. Okay, so this is a question from Sideways on the Highways, and He says, I had a question about narcissist. My question is, if someone states that they are a narcissist, could they be mistaken, or would that be a red flag? It is a red flag, but they could be mistaken. You're welcome, Smooth and Chunky. There's so much wrong information out there about. I get wives contacting me to work with their husbands, and they say their husband's a narcissist. And then I work with the husband, and I find out the husband really is more of a codependent, and the wife's a borderline. So I'm a little having people who are involved in emotional conflict be the ones who make the diagnosis. I have an issue with that. So yeah, it is a red flag. The reason I'm asking this is concerning someone I know, whom I know claims himself to be a narcissist. Why would you walk around saying I'm a narcissist, by the way? What's the upside of that? Unless you're Sam Vacton or H.G. Tudor, and you're, representing and trying to teach people about the condition, to make a living. Okay. Couldn't confirm that he was a narcissist since... Okay, let me back up. The reason I'm asking is concerning someone I know who claims to be a narcissist, whom told me that his mother is a narcissist. Lizard has a question. I'll get to that. Couldn't confirm that his mom was a narcissist since I never met her, but I have learned that even if that is the case, people can pick up fleas from narcissists and become borderline. I'm no different. Okay, this guy has Asperger's, you're saying, sideways. Okay. I will disagree with you, sideways. I personally don't believe that a healthy person will get involved with a narcissist, and that a healthy person can get fleas and become a borderline. I don't believe that. I believe if you're a borderline, you already were a borderline. That's just my opinion. There's many opinions out there. Not saying that I know everything. I just my experience is borderline personality is something that it's not developed just by interacting, with another person. It's something that goes back to wounds from your childhood. Okay, let me get to a couple of the questions and comments that have come in. Marguerite says, I literally got rid of the last toxic person in my life today. Feels really clean and fresh. I celebrate this day. How cool is that? It feels clean and it feels fresh. My family I choose to cope with without hurting myself, for I choose not to ban them totally. Okay. Where's Lizard's question? Do narcs say they have walls? I don't know what to think about that question, Lizard. I just know that narcissists aren't very psychologically aware, and they can say a lot of things that aren't accurate or aware of who they are. Narcissists have masks, we know that. Okay, so Lizard says, me neither, Mark. Met a really nice person who says he does not want to get hurt. He has a wall. He is not sure if he can let them down. No, that's not necessarily narcissistic, just because you have a wall. Look, I'm cut off, and we just see half my face here. This is ridiculous. Now now we don't see any of my face. Okay, I'm having some issues here with my setup. Okay. This is the first time I've used this deal here, so that's why we're having pictures of my chest. Doesn't my chest look good? Okay. That's all we got is my chest. Okay. We're having some issues. I know. I'll do it that way. Okay. Better. Last time I was left to myself, I played with a rubber chicken and we had music going on in the background. That was crazy. Okay, questions. Kate Nadine, what do you think about a psychologist who says they believe that you have narcissistic abuse, complex post-traumatic disorder, but that is not in DSM-5, so the psychologist is going to use borderline? I think it's really horrible. Borderline personality disorder is not a diagnosis that you want, on your record, so to speak. It's not complimentary, and it's this thing. I've got a new tripod and it's wobbling. So for him to say it's a diagnosis that isn't used in the DSM-3, it's that to get insurance, because there are lesser diagnoses that you can use for insurance purposes, that you don't have to hit somebody with borderline personality disorder. Tawana, what's the downside of two codependents in a romantic relationship? Seeing a really nice guy who is also a therapist, and I think he's codependent. Now I have no neck. Okay, let's try to get me some neck. Do I have neck now? A little bit of neck. Now my eyes are cut. What is going on with this thing? Okay, I got a little bit of neck and I got eyes, so we're going to go with that. Downside of two codependents in a romantic relationship: deciding where you want to go to dinner. You want Chinese, you want Mexican, where do you want to go? I don't care. What do you think? Generally, if you've been historically attracted to people who are narcissistic, if you get involved with a codependent, in the long run, there's probably not going to be a lot of chemistry. So that's a downside. And then just, do I have a neck yet? I don't know. Andy says PTSD is closer to narcissistic abuse syndrome than borderline personality, and recognized in the DSM-3, even if complex PTSD isn't. Good point, Andy. Lizard says chemistry comes down to emotional connection. Oh, that's not true. Contraire. Long-term chemistry is about emotional connection. I've got a neck. Initial chemistry is about how you're wired, who you like, who you dig, who you fancy. If you're British, you would say that you fancy. You walk into a party and there's just aura coming off this dude. That kind of chemistry isn't about emotional connection. That's about the wounds of your childhood have sort of pre-wired you to be attracted to a certain person. That's why for about 12 years, from 45 to about, run from that chemistry. Damn right, lizard. I was involved with one borderline after another and really put myself in danger because I was working on my unresolved mommy issues. So, okay, now we have a long question. Andy says he's surprised that I knew fancy. Andy, I know brilliant. I actually work with a lot of British people via Skype. So I'm up on the British terms. The other day, I was working with a couple, and they said they just finished pudding. And I said, what kind of pudding is it? And they said, well, in Great Britain, you don't, when you're having dessert, it's pudding. It's just dessert. It's another word for it. They weren't really having pudding, they were having cake, but you call it pudding. How many people knew that? Tawana says, yes, less chemistry with the codependent. Tiffany, I think some narcissists use the I don't want to get hurt line, especially covert narcissists, and they mirror your emotions, so beware. Sneaky bastards. Okay, spotted dick is a great pudding. I've never heard of that, spotted dick, but let's move on. This is from Soren. It's a long question, and here we go. And it's actually in two parts. Be careful and go with your gut. Tiffany's laying down some really good feedback here. I have a question that I'm hoping you and Renda can address. You're stuck with me. My sister is in a relationship with a narcissistically abusive husband. They have one child together who is 6 months old. They have been married for 3 years, and there has been ongoing domestic violence initiated by him. It has escalated recently, and he is now threatening to kill her if she tries to divorce him. I responded to all this by giving her the best information I could find on getting a restraining order, as well as information on local domestic violence shelters. My sister has not utilized these resources. I recently told my narcissistic mom about the situation, which deeply upset my sister. I felt it was necessary due to the fact that my sister has no support network. My mother isn't great, but at least she's not physically abusive. My question: did I cross a boundary by telling my mother about the abuse? Also, I feel emotionally raw about the situation and am not sure how to strike a balance between being helpful and also not emotionally enmeshed in the craziness of all this. Some days I really feel totally hopeless, as if my life is being consumed by the unfolding and seemingly never-ending drama. Any guidance you can give would be greatly appreciated. Then she updated me with another email. I can't remember, Soren. I think one time I called you a dude and you said you were a woman. And I've always been calling you a dude, so now I'm confused. I think maybe he is a dude. I'm confused. A quick update. I've been calling him a dude, but maybe he's not a dude. It's all good. My mother called the husband's family and told them that their son is abusing my sister. My mother also called the husband directly and told him she will call the police and his company commander if he doesn't stop his abusive behavior. My sister contacted me and said that her husband wasn't that bad. She said I was ruining her marriage and basically made me out to be the bad guy. I feel that my sister put me in an impossible situation as he is threatening to kill her if she leaves. I could never forgive myself if she disclosed that information to me and was later murdered by him. Again, feeling emotionally raw about all this, looking for some support. Okay, Soren, this is a tough one. This is a really tough situation. Several things. One, it does feel as if you're not detached. It does feel like you've been drawn into the drama too much for your own good. So I really would encourage you to try to step back from the drama and to not let it snatch your serenity away from you, because you're just being brought into too much rawness and too much craziness, and you got to take care of yourself. The second thing I wanted to say is, so your sister shared this with you, but we're not God. We're just people that have a little bit of insight. And so we're not God. And if you have this information and you're trying to get community involved, you told your mother, you asked, did you break confidentiality? Well, I think it takes a village to raise the children. It takes a village to heal narcissistic abuse. So I don't have problem with you getting your mother involved in the situation. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. And it's not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility as to whether or not she gets murdered or doesn't get murdered. You're not God. You're not the Holy Spirit. All you can do is give her the right feedback, point her to the right resources. But ultimately, if she doesn't take you up on that, then that's not your responsibility. And I would hate to see you feel responsible for something that it's just not your job. You've done everything you can do. You gave her the information about restraining orders, about domestic violence treatment and shelters, and you got your mother involved. I don't know what else you can do. Hire a hitman and go kill her husband? I mean, you can't break the law. It's all you can do is be there for your sister and constantly be holding a mirror up to her so that hopefully she'd wake up and smell the coffee someday. I got Diet Root Beer in my canister and I opened it up and it spurted all over my face. Now I got to clean my glasses. Okay, so those are the questions that I have. So, Soren, I hope that makes sense. Be peaceful. Get a massage. Hand her over to God. Recognize that you're not all powerful and everything's not your responsibility. So Soren says, I'm trying to have a healthy sense of shame and realize I can't solve this. So a healthy sense of shame is no shame at all. Marilyn, what happens when two narcissists get together? A lot of sex, a lot of drama, and a lot of sickness. and usually a lot of collateral damage all the way around with the people, the kids, and whatnot. Tiffany, yeah. Okay. Okay, so I am working in my new office by the beach. That's where I'm at tonight. It doesn't really fit Brenda and I both. It's not a big office, so we do normally do the show in front of the TV, but when I Skype, it's from right here. So if you guys ever want to have a Skype appointment with me, it'll look like this. Got beach? I got beach. Okay, there was a question up here. Sarah says, are you an INFP? Introverted, intuitive, feeling, perception. Sarah, you missed a couple. I am an INF. You only missed one. INFJ. So you were very close. You had 3 out of 4. So I'm introverted, intuitive, feelings oriented, and I guess somewhat judgment oriented. I don't know what that last one means versus perception. Where is Jackie? All right, we got to cancel the show. Sorry, people. Is my camera all the way down to that? What do I have here? Okay. Okay, now, okay. There. I was only seeing part of the camera. I thought I only had a neck and nothing else. So Sarah is an INFP. I don't know. Let's put a search party together and let's locate Miss Jackie. I don't think we can have our group without Jackie. No Brenda, no Jackie. Tiffany's crying. Try to forget the camera. You're doing a good job. All I saw was like this much of a sliver, and I thought that's what you guys were seeing. Thank you, Susie. I hope that Jackie is having a good time. We'll ask her next week. But it does seem weird to have the show and hang out without Jackie. Soren says, my brother also tried to commit suicide this week. He has schizophrenia. He's tried to do this multiple times. I'm trying to get him institutionalized, but nobody will listen. How can I cope? Wow, Soren, that's just horrible. It's just terrible. It's the worst. I think the most powerful thing that anybody can do is an impactful thing on a family for generations is to commit suicide. I have a daughter who has some bipolar stuff, and she made a very serious suicide attempt. And we're just so lucky that my former wife was actually there to save her. But there's nothing worse than somebody you love being ill and then, threatening to take their own life. So sending you lots of support, Soren, but again, you're not your brother's social worker, you're not your brother's therapist, you're not your brother's psychiatrist. You just be a brother and give your brother what you can give him, but ultimately you really have to save yourself. In situations like this, with this all going on in your family, you can swim out to rescue one of them and end up drowning yourself. So I can't recommend that. Michelle says her 14-year-old daughter tried to commit suicide as well. and it's heartbreaking. Hey, Ginger sent me a photo today that I liked. I'm trying to get it to show up. I don't know if you guys can see this. You see that? You can't see it very well, can you? It says, the lion doesn't turn around when the small dog barks. I think I'm going to do a video on this. It has a picture of a really regal lion. The lion doesn't turn around when the small dog barks. We're the lion, and narcissists are the small dog. We're the lions. Narcissists are the small dogs, and we don't have to give them respect, attention, fear. We got the power. Rose says in Myers-Briggs, J is judgment, and it means prefers to come to a judgment more quickly, as in close-ended, as compared to perception, which means perceiving, as in open-ended. Nice. Emotional Detective says, where is Renda? We got in a fight and I chased her off. No, that's not it. She's with her daughter tonight. I know her daughter is leaving tomorrow to go out of town, and tonight's their only night together because she just got here yesterday, and so I wanted to make sure they had some time together, so I told her to take the night off. So, okay. Soren says, thanks, Mark. That makes sense. Trying to learn healthy shame, aka my personal limits and what I can and can't do. It's hard, but I'm glad I have you guys. Tawana says, you're right, Mark. I've lost family members to suicide. It's horrible. Soren, I am so sorry you're experiencing that with your brother. Emotional Detective says, thought so. I thought you had a fight. No, I just wanted to give her some time with her daughter. Marilyn, do you recommend EMDR for people who have had very little recall of childhood memories and are trying to resolve inner wounds? How else can these be resolved? Yes, Marilyn, very much so. I recommend EMDR. I have a client who, she actually appeared on one of our live streams a ways back, and she has had massive amounts of EMDR, and it has helped her to have some memories come up about childhood sexual abuse. So EMDR is just a wonderful thing, a powerful thing, something I just recommend for anybody who's been through trauma. How else can unresolved inner wounds? Here's something that has helped me in the past, and that's dream interpretation. Your dreams are another avenue to your unconscious. So bringing in a dream and having a therapist who has some experience interpret the dreams, that's really powerful work and can really give you some insight into what's going on, and it will help you have memories as well. Sideways says EMDR is good. It helps you process the depths of your pain from childhood and repressed emotions. So, coffee break. Why am I drinking coffee this late? Emotional Detective says the official version says that I told Renda to take time off with her daughter, but really there's shenanigans going on. You again realize Renda is another narcissist, like a never-ending nightmare. Nope. Girlfriend, wife has issues, but she's definitely not a narcissist. Sarah says, brother is such a douche. I don't even want to tell him what it is about. Working on that. Is that a DSM-3 diagnosis, douche? Mark, do people injured by narcissistic parents have insecure attachment issues? Yes, they do. Because we just didn't get the connection with, you cannot really connect with narcissistic parents. So, okay, douche is in the DSM-3, Tiffany tells me. So, yeah, people who have narcissistic parents, they do have very powerful attachment issues. Andy, I had a dream the other night where I was telling my narcissistic ex what he was, and he got smaller and smaller. I interpret that as healing. I interpret that, Andy, as you becoming powerful. That's power. As you were voicing, as you were having a voice, the narcissist became less powerful and smaller and smaller. I'm going to have a cough drop here. My throat's getting sort of sore. I know what I'll do. I'll break out the rubber chicken and turn on the music and do some chair dancing. What do you guys think? Hey, that is a good dream. That's a wonderful dream. Rose says, I just listened to the following book, Splitting, Protecting Yourself While Divorcing Somebody with Borderline or Narcissistic Personality Disorder by Bill Eddy, and I would highly recommend it. So we'll pass on that recommendation. He got real tiny as you were talking with him because you became, more and more powerful. So there's a little debating going back and forth here. I'm going to get the rubber chicken out. But back to my my picture that I shared. The lion doesn't turn around when the small dog barks. I love that. The lion doesn't turn around when the small dog barks. And what I've found is the narcissists that I've been involved with, they're emotional infants, and they're not really all that powerful. And Renda is a super empath, and I'm missing Mrs. Smith as well. Yeah, she's definitely a major empath. Sarah says, be like rain, X slides off. So Lizard says, I have so much fear. I think everyone is a narcissist. Yeah, I went through that. Probably in the first 2 weeks after my shattering, I was in a CVS pharmacy and I was looking around, and every woman in there I thought was an evil narcissist who was screwing the boss and, embezzling money and, abusing the children. I was just looking at them like, y'all must be the devil. Sideways says, it really helps if you're ready to let go of your pain and open up. He says, I haven't yet had a Goodwill Hunting breakdown, but it's a start. Been going weekly. Yeah. Michelle says, my borderline mother is still a 5-year-old emotionally, even though she's 72. I tell you what, I've had a lot of Goodwill Hunting moments, a lot of deep tears and deep healing, and I'm grateful for that. Borderline women cheat. I noticed that. Ellie Wynn. Hi all. Great stream. Love the comments and Mark's leadership. Tiffany says normal women cheat. Probably I would say, Tiffany, that the percentage of borderline women who cheat is much higher than the percentage of non-borderline women. Borderline women, I bet it's 75%. Normal women, I think not normal, there's nobody who's normal, but non-borderline women, I don't know what the number is, but it's, I think, in the neighborhood of 50% at some point. There's some kind of acting out going on. Marguerite, shit, she says. Even now, I'm getting a little anxious and feeling the shame because I might come across as bragging about my achievements and good actions. I know it's not real. I'm trying to stop. So she's having joy. She's celebrating the day. She got rid of her last really awful person, and now she's thinking that she's coming across as arrogant and bragging. Not at all. Not at all. That was inspiring. What goes through the head of a parent that doesn't have any connection with their grown children? I'll tell you what goes through their head. That the grown children are the problem. It's not me. It's, my son is a jerk. And I raised him and I gave him so much. And what's his problem? That's what it isn't. I'm going to present myself with humility and listen to them and try to fix the problem. It isn't that. Because it can't be me, it's them. And they usually are self-righteous and arrogant. Sideways says in the general population is only 6 to 15%. And Sideways says, isn't it more like 65%? We're talking about women who cheat, or are you talking about number of borderlines? Sideways, I don't know which one you're talking about. Sarah says, who wants to be normal? I'm ABBI. What does that mean, ABBI? Andy says, my narcissist dad told me today that he wants to cut my sister off because he was a great dad. Yeah, that's being a great dad, wanting to cut somebody off for having an opinion. Hey, Tanya, what's up? She says, Mark, I wish I could explain all this to my golden child brother so that he could understand. I could keep a relationship with him. Those golden child, you know, their shit don't stink, and they just don't want to. They just don't want to be open to the truth. Basically, they can't handle the truth. Ellie says I have narcanoia, an extreme fear of narcissism. Probably not a bad thing. Okay. So Sideways says 6 to 15% narcissist. I think it's way higher than that. Sideways. 6% is probably just the borderlines, not counting other forms of narcissist. I think it's way higher than 6%. I think it's closer to 30-40% myself. Probably not 65%. Okay, Marilyn says, what's the difference between a borderline and a narcissist? A borderline is much more fragile psychologically, much more emotional, more reactive. A stone cold narcissist, they're cerebral, they're calculating, they're more dangerous. I don't have the diagnostic manual in front of me to go through all of the traits, but basically borderlines tend to have huge abandonment issues and lots of drama, whereas a narcissist a covert narcissist can hide the evil and actually appear to be a really pleasant and I don't know, sought after person with lots of positive traits, so they can hide, you know, their stuff. And Soren says, or where Andy said something here. I lost your comment. It was Soren. Borderlines seem really emotionally deregulated and reactive. Well said. With borderlines, you feel like you feel like they might go medieval on your ass at any moment. I grew up with a borderline, and she could go from a happy mood to a rage in 2 seconds, and then go into depression not long after that. So it was very volatile, and just lots and lots of insecurity and lots of instability and lots of drama. I can't recommend it. Tanya says, I definitely think my mother has borderline traits. Annie says, I would retreat to a cave if she were around a borderline. Tanya, they get attention through drama. Emotional detective empaths give empathy. So Andy says, my mother is also a borderline. I hear you. Here's Catherine. Hi, Catherine. I'm new to the chat. I was shattered by my boyfriend of almost 7 years. He cheated on me after I thought he was loyal for the entire time together, and everyone told me he's cheated before that. Catherine, our stories are very similar. I found out my fiance was seriously, massively, pornographically, disgustingly out of control sexually with somebody from work the entirety. I mean, she met him like a month after she moved in with me or started dating me. And, you know, he was above me from the very beginning. I was just at home paying all the bills, and I just didn't think people like that existed. And it just shocked my system. My system is still shocked some 28 months later. I'm still in shock that somebody could act like they were loving and committed and be a whole nother person underneath who's just selfish and dangerous and mean and rude and just disgusting. So I'm relating, Catherine, to your story. So Marguerite says, inspiring. Thanks, I will accept this compliment. So good to hear. Pity, I need this still, but also it's good. I'm good and glad to have fun with it, and myself for dealing with this shit. Marguerite has some good emojis going on. A crown, a flower, and a big old muscle. Don't you hate it, Soren, when they do the autocorrect, and it changes entirely what you were going to say? I had a real snappy comment to one of my classmates. We just had our 40th high school reunion, and I was saying something on Facebook that was funny, and it autocorrected and just ruined it. Damn it. Sarah says, older sister has borderline personality disorder. Saddest thing is she believes her own crap. Tanya says, hugs to Marguerite and your beautiful Dutch name. Soren says, they act so well. You just don't see it coming. That's part of what stings. I totally did not see it coming at all. And even though there was evidence to the contrary. Denny says, hi Mark, I had a big breakthrough today. Catherine, I can relate too. Well, good for you, Denny. That's great. That's great. Annie, may I ask, did you go back to her after you found out? She was around for 8 days. She was around from the 26th day of April 2015 until I dropped her off at the bridge to recovery, which is the bridge to denial. So I was around her for 8 days, and she was putting on an act, basically that she wanted to keep her gig, her financial support, but I'm pretty sure she went and saw this guy during that 8 days. So I'm just glad it's over, and I'm glad to have survived it, and I'm glad to have been able to share my experiences with so many people that it's been helpful to. Michelle says, sorry Mark, it's heartbreaking, been through the same thing. Andy says, my childhood for me is an absentee narcissistic father who was cheating on my mom. And she has mood swings and was emotionally volatile, mostly because he was cheating on her. So, yeah, she had abandonment issues, and man, I can't imagine if I had small children when I went through my shattering, and how destructive her cheating and my shattering would have been to the children. All kinds of good comments in here. Tanya says, Andy, for some reason we got a barrel of crazies for parents. Something got mixed up in the toy factory. I'll take a barrel of monkeys over those two. Yeah, I've often said that my parents were just two knuckleheads, and they shouldn't have even had a parent, much less, you know, they shouldn't have had a parrot, they shouldn't have had a turtle, but they had 7 children. Ellie says, yes, Mark, they are expert actors, the secretive, cheating, grandiose narcissist. Smooth and chunky. Anyone experience financial abuse from their narcissist? I wouldn't call it financial abuse. I would call it, I signed up to rescue her financially, and basically she traded sex for financial support. But I did it to myself. I was an innocent, I was a babe in the woods, and I didn't realize people could be so evil and have such dark motives. But yeah, I pretty much supported her for 6.5 years, even though she really wasn't committed to me at all. Soren says, yep, my narcissist stole $25,000 from me. Now that's a different story when they're actually stealing the money. You know, it's too bad that person can't go to jail, and it destroyed their ability to, Soren's ability to go to graduate school. Michelle says, Mark, how do you know when you've met the right partner for you? That's a great question, Michelle. Because whenever you meet somebody that you have great chemistry with, you know, they seem pretty wonderful, and it seems pretty magical. And I would say just take it slow. And I encourage all of my single people to involve themselves in therapy. And I do a family tree. That's what a family tree looks like. And we find out what the patterns are from one generation to the next generation. And we find out how you're wired. And then as soon as you start dating somebody, we invite them to sit in the chair and get an assessment done. The best time to do therapy is while you're dating. It's not at the end of the relationship where it's hanging by a thread. The best time to get involved in recovery work is early on in the relationship, and you find out if they can do the work. If they can't do the work, you cut them. But be very, very careful. Eileen tells a story about being left with no home and no money for 2 weeks after serious spinal surgery, with a note stating that all the property had a lien on it and the IRS was after him to the tune of 6 figures. Oh my God, Eileen. Oh my God. It's terrible. Robert says, my therapist tried to warn me about family roles and maybe my mom was acting like a narcissist. I can see she treats me much differently. She beat my stepbrother with pans. Emotional detective said my last narcissist would copy my credit cards and charge them after you broke up. That person should go to jail. Soren says my mother beat us with metal rods. I feel your pain, brother. Robert says I have such a hard time accepting, but I remember us chatting about grieving over the unsafe family. I forget it and I forgive. And Robert says it's time to man up and see that only I can be my parent. You know what I've found is you can find parenting outside yourself. I've had therapists that have been parenting to me, and I've gotten good fathering and mothering from some good therapists. I get some mothering from Renda. Sometimes my wounded little boy comes out and she nurtures me. There's Lance. He says, "Hi, guys and gals. Lurking from social." What does that mean, lurking from social? Welcome, Lance. Sharon says, "I need a mother." Really, that is part of the treatment for borderline personality disorder, is a good therapist who's ethical, who has a solid sense of self, who is able to parent and nurture the client over a period of time. I definitely have some clients that they sort of feel like my kids. So, Smooth and Chunky, every time we got loaded in the car with the narcissist, we didn't know if we were getting ice cream or ass whoopings. I gotta go with the ice cream. My mom wasn't super emotionally violent, or physically violent, I mean, but she would throw things. She did sit on me one time. She was big and heavy. I remember the first therapist I went to, I told that story, and he was just shocked, and he was just, he knew it was a big deal, and I was like, "What? My mom sat on me. What's the big deal?" And then years later, I felt the implications of the claustrophobia. I still have claustrophobic symptoms. Sharon says, "I cannot possibly have kids because I feel so messed up." Tiffany asked Ellie if her dad was self-aware. I tell you what, my dad was not self-aware. He was sweet, but he really just didn't have very much emotional intelligence. But he was sweet, and he wasn't abusive. He was just self-absorbed and not present. Lance said, "My dad would stab your hand with a fork if you reached across the dinner table." Wow. Annie is sending hugs, and Sarah's sending ice cream. Hugs and ice cream. The pastor who married Renda and I saw a picture of him on vacation, and he had this ice cream. They had ice cream cones, and the ice cream was like this big. It was like huge. It was like half as big as your head. So that's cool. Christopher, how's it doing? How's it going, man? It says, "I appreciate you, Mark. You're a good man with a beautiful gift that blesses many people." I appreciate that. I hope you are able to direct that person to the right treatment program. I want to put a little plug in here for on-site. And I know a lot of y'all don't have resources to spend $3,000 or $4,000 on a week of treatment, but some of you might. But it's such a delightful, wonderful, special, magical place. It's this place in Tennessee, out in the country, Tennessee, and near Nashville, and it's just beautiful, and it's just filled with special people. and you go and you just, it's like, it would be like us meeting for a week and working really hard on our stuff for a week. It's like safe people who really do great work. So if you haven't gone and you can go, you really should go. Annabelle says, "Hi Mark, why is therapy not helpful for the it almost looked like Nazi and narcissist put together." Well, because they're not psychologically open, they're not teachable, they're not motivated, they don't really trust. I look for 5 qualities in people, and however many of these qualities you have, that's how much progress you're going to make in therapy. And that is, are you motivated? Are you teachable? Are you able to face off with your pain and feel it? Are you able to trust the process of therapy and your therapist? And do you do the homework? Narcissists just use the information to be empowered so that they can turn the therapist against you and use the knowledge against you. Okay, the comments are coming quick and fast. Gita, have you been on here before? I used to get locked in a dark cupboard and whipped with metal rods too. My mom joked about locking my daughter in the cupboard as if it was a joke the other day. If she doesn't listen and you just ignored it. That's terrible. Okay, I think we have somebody on here trying to make bad comments, and I'll get rid of those. Michelle says, "Mark, I can't reach out to get help from your team because I don't know my family tree. My father was adopted and he won't tell me anything. He was too reactive to push him on it than tell you." Anything you know can be helpful, and you probably know more than you think you do. You don't have to have all the information saved up for you don't have to have all the information saved up for 4 generations to make progress in therapy. Just come with what you do know. Okay, so Annie says, "Mark, I was jotting down the 5 things. Motivation to work on yourself because you have a clear vision of who you are and what your issues are. The second thing was being teachable. You know, somebody who has an open mind and an open heart. The third thing is embracing your pain. The fourth thing is trusting the process. And the last thing is homework." You're missing the second thing, which was being able to be teachable. When people come in, we take down the family tree, and then we tell them what we see, and it's psychological surgery. And we punch them in their face in the name of good therapy and truth with love. And they have to be able to have open minds and flexible psychological defense mechanisms. Well, folks, I'm tired. You notice I wasn't hungry tonight. I wasn't eating because I had the afternoon off. I slept all afternoon, and then I had time to get up and have some stir fry. Marguerite says, "The last most devastating evil narc in my life was a social identity thief, a copycat stalker. Mark, have you heard of this type? I still feel I should warn about him to others, or should I move on?" that's a little bit out of my... Thank you, Vanessa. Jackie? Ho, 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 ho. Jackie's in the house. Dude, you show up at 9:31? All right, Jackie, where have you been? Jackie was at a lacrosse tournament. Jackie, we almost canceled the session. Somebody noticed that you weren't with us, and we almost canceled the session and took the night off. So how was the lacrosse tournament, Jackie? And how are you? Tanya says, could you have been somewhere more Canadian? What's for tea? What does that mean, Michelle, you Australian lady? What's for tea? Does that mean after the show? I don't know what tea time is. Anyway, Jackie, we did miss you. And so she says her great nephew David is a winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Jackie's all fancy and lacrossing. He made it to the newspaper. His great grandpa was a lacrosse legend, and now he's becoming a lacrosse legend. I do like that phrase, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Sometimes when we're playing cards with my family, we'll lay down all the cards and say, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Well, folks, I'm out of words, and I need to rest. But I'm glad that Jackie made it on the show at the end and brought a little sunshine and happiness to us. And lacrosse, thank you, Soren. Chris, is it possible for narcissists to be aware? I've seen very little awareness in narcissists. I'll be working with one, trying to do therapy with him, and it seems like they get it, and you come back the next week, and it's like they didn't learn a thing. So, Vanessa is not going to sleep tonight. Why is that? Denny's saying breakthroughs, thanks to your care, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you, Tawana. I appreciate it. Love you guys. Vanessa's on call. Okay. Love you guys. And next week, Brenda will be back with me, and you won't have to only hear my voice. So, good night, everybody. And Brenda is with her daughter tonight, Jackie. Everybody's been joining and said, where's Brenda? She's with her daughter. Her daughter was only in town for one night, so I wanted to make sure they had some time to hang out. Thank you, Catherine. Good night, everybody. Love you. Talk with you next week. Bye.